John Harvey joins us from AgriFutures Australia. AgriFutures run the evokeAG and growAG platforms, and you manage the AgTech and innovation ecosystem within Australia to a certain extent. So thanks you for joining me today. Maybe to kick off, it's been just over 12 months since we're all at evokeAG. It's been an interesting 12 months. What's AgriFutures and evokeAG been up to over that time?
Yeah, well, Michael, great to be here, thank you, and it's great to be in Adelaide and at Southstart, so thanks for the invitation. I'm really excited about today.
Yes.
And the events that we'll have on later this afternoon, so thanks for that. Look, it has been a really fascinating year. It'd be an understatement to say it's been a tough year. I think most people have completely had to do a reset, and we've had to do a reset with evokeAG. In fact, when we ran evokeAG over 12 months ago, it was right on the verge of COVID-19. We had 6 international people pull out. We still had nearly 1,500 people in the room, and 2 weeks later, Australia was closed. So we look back and say, God, we're lucky. We were so lucky.
It was actually it was the last time I was on a plane was the trip back from evokeAG, so we got it just in time.
We certainly did. So obviously we had to do some pretty hard thinking about evoke. We created enormous interest, and we tapped into incredible energy in Australia around agri-food tech, which was very exciting. So in some ways it was a bit disheartening that we had to change tack, but having said that, it's given us an opportunity to change tack. And what we've put our energy into over the last 12 months is really continuing those conversations, but continuing them on the evokeAG network or evokeAG.com. So previously, evokeAG.com really was just a platform to promote the event, and the conversations happened at the event, as you know, and that's fantastic. And the conversations were driven by the people that turned up. They brought the content. Over the last 12 months, we've invested a lot of resources, a lot of energy into getting that content online. We've got a network of international writers, video bloggers, and podcasters. And if you go in and have a look at the actual content, we've been able to continue that conversation. And in fact, what it's allowed us to do is to broaden that conversation out to a whole lot of other people that probably couldn't get to the physical event. And that conversation is now having 365 days a year. So the pivot we had to take, in hindsight, was actually very fortuitous and in fact very beneficial.
Fantastic, yeah, and I think the AgTech ecosystem over the 12 months has really pivoted to that online, beyond what you're doing with AgriFutures and evokeAG, and it's been a really good way of actually getting some of that thought leadership and ideas from overseas as well, learning about international markets. So there's been a lot of those types of conversations. You also recently launched growAG as well. Can you tell us a bit more about the sort of thinking behind growAG and the planning and what you hope to get out of it?
Yeah, look, thanks. Yeah, and over the last 12 months, obviously, we've put a lot of work into developing that platform. So again, going back to our experience with evokeAG, we ran it twice, and we were very much trying to build the ecosystem in Australia, promote and encourage deal flow, encourage investment from overseas. And we had something like $4 billion worth of managed capital in the room at the last evoke. And there were lots of deals done at evoke, but in hindsight, some of it was serendipity. People bumping into each other, having a yarn, going from there. We really saw an opportunity to create a 365-day a year platform. So you could, which is growAG.com. You come into growAG.com, you can see all of the investment opportunities in Australia. Okay, so you go to one spot, no matter where you are in the world, you can see what's coming out of the RDCs in terms of commercial opportunities. You can also see for the first time all of the research projects across RDCs without having to go to 14 or 15 different websites. They're all there. You can see what GRDC is doing in climate change, what Dairy Australia is doing in climate change, what Horticulture Innovation Australia is doing. You can have a look at the whole portfolio. And the idea is to build collaborations, build partnerships, build commercial investments and opportunities, and create transparency, so people can actually see what's coming out of the RDCs. And our next step now is to broaden that out to universities, to state departments, to CSIRO, get the whole ecosystem online so people can see and do business in Australia. Yeah, that's growAG. Really encourage people to have a look and give us feedback, because it's early days. We're very excited about it. But it's early days, a long way to go.
Yeah, and I think it's had a really good reception so far. I know that one of the excellent things was that AgriFutures was very consultative with the ecosystem throughout the development. I know that there was many people in the community that were able to participate in your user sessions, and I think that speaks to the outcomes that have been seen so far. So that's a really good thing to see.
Yeah, look, also fascinating for me was as we developed it, the team had quite a lot of connections overseas through evokeAG, and the response from a number of countries was, we wouldn't mind being a part of this. We wouldn't mind actually putting our projects, because we don't have anything like this in our country. So there internationally too, a lot of interest in the actual platform. And you think about it, accessing commercial opportunities out of universities, out of the public sector can be quite tricky. A lot of public institutions are really focused on the research component and less focused on the commercial. So if we can just highlight those commercial opportunities that are coming out of that particularly the public sector, universities, CSIRO, state departments, and link them up with people that have got that commercial mindset, that the potential is huge. The potential is huge.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I suppose, you're on one of the panels today at Southstart. This afternoon we're going to be talking about how we grow the agtech ecosystem in Australia. You're on the panel with Sarah Nolet from Tenacious Ventures and Martin Cole from University of Adelaide. I suppose we now have this repository of all of these amazing things that are happening in research. What do you see as that, I suppose, next step and the types of initiatives and activities that we need to do in the ecosystem to go from research through to commercialisation, and how do we really start to ramp up and take that next level of growth?
Yeah, that's a huge question. There's so many aspects to that. Ultimately we need a really vibrant agri-food tech sector in Australia, a really vibrant ecosystem. I think we've got lots of investment going into research, and we've got to build that commercial ecosystem that goes on the back of that and starts driving that research agenda. So there's a number of aspects to it. I think one of the keys is actually getting people skilled and experienced at actually investing in agri-food tech. So we've got a couple of decent sized venture capital funds, family investors, angel investors. So that's good, but we need to build on it. And I think also building the links internationally. So if we've got a good ecosystem here that's strong and people trust, then some of the bigger funds are then going to be, I think, prepared to consider putting their money in. And because at the moment, the worry for them, I think, is long way away. How do we keep an eye on it, particularly in COVID-19? How do we keep an eye on that investment? How do we ensure that we know it's working? How do we help them? But if they've got a local partner doing that, that makes it a lot easier for them to play, and that's going to be important. And finally, we've got to be really careful that we don't just create a whole lot of startups that then go offshore. Okay, I want to keep them here in Australia. 100%. I want to make it a place where they want to have as their head office forever, maybe, and have to be exporting their technology to the rest of the world. There's no question about that. They'll have to have offices elsewhere. But wouldn't it be nice if we had a system where Australia grown, stay in Australia, build the ecosystem, drive the innovation agenda, but very much with a global context, a global market in mind.
Yeah, and I'm almost seeing the flip side in some ways. I've actually been having a lot of conversations with agtech companies overseas that are seeing what we're doing in Australia and are really excited about that, and are wanting to bring their technology and their innovations to Australia and localise it for our market. I think that's going to be an additive thing. What are your thoughts in terms of how we start to connect our ecosystem within Australia to those broader opportunities?
Yeah, so this is really, really close to my heart. So really, you've touched a spot because we've got great farmers and we've got great researchers, and we've got this amazing environment or diversity in different production systems in Australia, from subtropical, tropical, right through to Mediterranean. We can test technology. We can thoroughly test technology regardless of where it's developed around the world. We could be a test bed for all these innovations, and if we are, then our farmers will be the first in the world to get access. So I do think we've, unlike Israel, who's good at developing out the ideas, 8 million people, tiny little country, they haven't got the room or the environments to really test the technology. US is huge, so it's big and cumbersome, but Australia, we're about the right size. We've got good, stable government. We've got all of the ingredients. We've got great farmers. We've got great researchers. got to be the test bed, doesn't it, for new technologies?
100%. Yeah, no, I mean, we've got the demonstration farms that are starting to take shape. I think the infrastructure has really started to get built out over the past 12 months particularly.
Yeah, and we've got, I mean, the Minister for Ag's just announced the 8 innovation hubs, drought innovation hubs around Australia, and that's another opportunity. That's a really significant investment. So there's a number of things coming together which I think, together could position us as the agri-food tech hub of the Southern Hemisphere, which is where we need to be.
That's what we want, definitely. Well, thank you very much, John, for joining me. I'm looking forward to our conversation this afternoon in the Southstart AgTech stream. So yeah, thank you very much. Welcome back to Adelaide, and let's keep the conversation going.
Thanks, Michael, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Thank you.